Imagine you finally turn 59 and a half. For 30 years, you've been told there's a 10% penalty waiting if you touch your retirement money early, so you've never touched it. And now that wall is gone. So you call your 401k and say, "Send me $100,000. A check arrives for 80. The other 20,000? Already gone to the IRS before you saw a dime. That happens because of a withholding rule that has nothing to do with the penalty you spent 3 decades worrying about. The penalty disappeared at 59 and a half, exactly like they promised. Nobody mentioned that the moment it disappears is the exact moment a different set of mistakes opens up underneath you. Mistakes that can cost more than the penalty ever would have. And the worst part, most people walk straight into them feeling safe. If you're between 55 and 65 and you've got a traditional 401k or IRA you're about to start drawing from, this is the video that keeps that $20,000 in your pocket instead of the government's. If you've already crossed 59 and a half and you're feeling relieved, Walter needs about 20 minutes of your attention because relief is precisely the feeling that gets people here. In the next 20 minutes, Walter's going to walk you through exactly what changes the day you hit 59 and a half. The $20,000 withholding trap and the one word that diffuses it, why no penalty, is not the same as no tax. And a real couple who almost lost 20 grand moving money they were never even going to spend. Stick around to the end. There's a one-page checklist you can keep next to your retirement statements. So here's the map for the next 20 minutes. First, what actually changes at 59 and a half? The real list, not the greeting card version. Second, the $20,000 withholding ambush. Why asking for your own money the wrong way hands a fifth of it to the IRS on the way out the door. Third, the difference between penalty-free and tax-free and how one careless lump sum can shove you from the 12% bracket into the 22% bracket in a single afternoon. Fourth, you'll meet David and Janet. David's 59 and a half. He did everything the brochures told him, and he still nearly lost $20,000. And finally, the part that reaches 2 years into your future and quietly sets your Medicare bill before you've even signed up for it. By the end, you'll have a kitchen table checklist for the whole 59 and a half transition. Let's get into it. Walter wants you to picture something specific because we're going to come back to it the whole way through. Picture a mountain road with a steep drop on one side. For your entire working life, there's been a guardrail along that edge. That guardrail is the 10% early withdrawal penalty. It's been annoying. It's kept you from grabbing your own money when you wanted it. More than once, you've cursed it. But here's what that guardrail was actually doing. It was keeping you from driving off a cliff you couldn't see. At 59 and a half, the guardrail comes down. The IRS removes it, and the road suddenly feels wide open. You can pull money whenever you like, no penalty. That feeling of openness is real. But here's the part most people get wrong. A guardrail coming down does not mean the cliff moved. The drop is still there. The withholding rules, the tax brackets, the Medicare thresholds, every one of those hazards is exactly where it was. The only thing that changed is that the thing protecting you from them is gone. Same road, same cliff, no rail. So as we go through what changes at 59 and a half, keep asking the question that keeps people alive on that road. Not, what am I now allowed to do, but what's still waiting to catch me now that nobody's stopping me. 1. The 10% penalty disappears on both your 401k and your IRAs. This is the headline, and it's genuinely good news. Before 59 and a half, pulling money from a traditional retirement account generally means a 10% penalty on top of regular income tax. That's the guardrail. At 59 and a half, that 10% is gone. If you've got more than $200,000 sitting in a traditional 401k or IRA, this is the moment that money becomes truly reachable without a federal penalty. And notice the word both. 59.5 is the universal line. It lifts the penalty on your 401k and your IRA alike. There were earlier doors for a lucky few. If you left a job at 55 or later, the rule of 55 lets you tap that 401k early, which Walter covered in its own video. But that door never existed for IRAs. For your IRA money, 59.5 has always been the line, and now you're standing on it. Here's the gotcha most people miss in their relief, though. The penalty going away is not the same as the tax going away. Not even close. The penalty was the smaller of the two costs all along, which brings us to the rail that's now down. 2. You can finally touch the account while you're still working. Before 59.5, if you're still employed, most plans won't let you take money out of your current 401k at all, not without a hardship. At 59.5, many plans unlock what's called an in-service withdrawal or in-service rollover, meaning you can move money out even while you're still on the job, if the plan allows it. That's a real planning tool. But here's where the open road gets people. The day you can touch it is the day a lot of folks decide they should, and they reach in for a big chunk simply because for the first time in their lives, nothing's stopping them. The rail being down is not a reason to drive toward the edge. 3. And this is the $20,000 one. How you ask for the money decides whether you keep all of it. If you request a distribution that gets paid to you, an actual check or a transfer into your checking account. Federal law requires the plan to withhold 20% for taxes before it leaves. Watch the math. You ask for $100,000. The plan sends you $80,000. The IRS is holding the other $20,000 before you've done anything at all. The math is on screen. Look at it. Now here's the gotcha. If you only meant to move that money, say, roll it into an IRA, you now have 60 days to get the full $100,000 into the IRA, but you only received $80,000. So you have to come up with that missing $20,000 out of your own pocket to complete the rollover. Miss it. And the IRS treats the shortfall as a taxable withdrawal. The guardrail's down, you reached for your money the obvious way, and a fifth of it got caught on the way out. 4. Penalty-free is not tax-free, and a lump sum can jump your bracket. Every dollar you pull from a traditional account is ordinary income, taxed exactly like a paycheck. In 2026, a married couple filing jointly sits in the 12% bracket up to $100,800 of taxable income. Above that, the rate jumps to 22%. So if you and your spouse are living on modest income right now and you yank out a big lump in 1 year, you can fill up the 12% room and shove the rest into the 22% bracket, paying nearly double the rate on those top dollars for no reason other than timing. Same money, pulled across 2 calendar years instead of 1, often stays entirely in the lower bracket. Picture it. You need $120,000. Pull it all in 1 year, and roughly $19,000 of it gets taxed at 22%. Pull $80,000 this December and $40,000 next January, and you can keep both years under that $100,800 line. Every dollar taxed at 12%, not a penny at 22%. Same total, same accounts. The calendar did the work. The gotcha. The account doesn't warn you. There's no light that flashes when you cross $100,800. You find out in April. This is the cliff the guardrail was hiding. 5. The Roth conversion window swings open, and almost nobody uses it on purpose. At 59 and a half, with the penalty gone and ideally before required withdrawals force your hand, at 73, you've got a window to move money from a traditional account into a Roth, paying tax now at today's known rates, so it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. If you're in your early 60s living on a low-income year, you may be able to convert a chunk while barely leaving the 12% bracket. This is the one change at 59 and a half that's pure opportunity instead of hazard, which is exactly why so few people act on it. It requires you to volunteer to pay some tax this year to avoid more later. That's a hard sell to a brain that just got told the penalty's gone. But here's why the window matters. It doesn't stay open. At 73, required minimum distributions kick in and start forcing money out of your traditional accounts, whether you want it or not. Often stacking on top of Social Security and pushing you right back toward that 22% bracket. The years between 59 and a half and 73 are the quiet window where you control the timing instead of the IRS. If you're in your low-income early 60s, that window is open right now. But it's the move Walter would be circling on the calendar. Quick pause. If what Walter's walking through is landing, if you just realized no penalty was never the whole story, hit subscribe. YouTube does not push retirement content unless viewers tell the algorithm it's worth pushing. Subscribing is how this kind of breakdown reaches more people about to drive off the same cliff, feeling perfectly safe. Now, back to David and Janet, because this next part is where the $20,000 almost walked out the door. Meet David and Janet. Walter wants you to hold on to their numbers because they're going to matter in a second. David just turned 59 and a half. He spent 31 years at the same manufacturing plant and retired this spring. Janet is 58 and still works part-time. About $40,000 a year. After the standard deduction for a married couple in 2026, which is $32,200, their taxable income before touching any retirement money sits right around $20,000. They're solidly in the lowest brackets. And David has $620,000 in his old employer's 401k. Now, David is not reckless. He read up. He knows his old plan has clunky, expensive funds, and he wants to move $100,000 into an IRA where he can invest it better. Notice, he isn't even spending it. He's just relocating his own retirement money. He's 59 and a half, the penalty's gone, so he calls the plan and says the most natural sentence in the world. Send me my $100,000. Here's what lands in his mailbox. A check for $80,000. The plan was required to withhold 20%, $20,000, because the money was paid to him. Same money, same destination, different outcome, and he hasn't even made a mistake yet. Now, the 60-day clock starts. To make this a clean rollover with no tax, David has to deposit the full $100,000 into the IRA within 60 days. But he's only holding $80,000. To finish the job, he has to find $20,000 from his checking account and add it in, and then wait until next year's tax refund to get that withheld $20,000 back. Best case, he just made the IRS an interest-free loan of $20,000 and scrambled to cover a hole he didn't know was coming. Worst case, he can't come up with the $20,000, deposits only the $80,000, and that missing $20,000 is now a permanent taxable withdrawal, taxed as income, and gone from his retirement account for good, on money he never intended to spend. Here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. The fix was one word. If David had told the plan to do a direct trustee-to-trustee transfer, money moving straight from the 401k to the IRA without ever being paid to him, there's no mandatory withholding, no 60-day clock, no $20,000 hole. The full $100,000 lands in the IRA intact. Same money, same destination. One word, direct, and the trap never opens. Now let's say David had actually wanted to spend that $100,000, pay off the mortgage, penalty-free, remember, but not tax-free. That $100,000 stacks on top of their $20,000 of taxable income, taking them to $120,000. The slice above $100,800, about $19,200 of it, gets taxed at 22% instead of the 12% they'd been sitting in. That's roughly $1,900 in extra federal tax, generated by nothing but cramming it all into one calendar year. Split across this year and next, staying under that $100,800 line each time, and most of that $1,900 never happens. So tally up David's "the penalty's gone, just send me the money" instinct. A $20,000 cash flow hole. A real risk of permanently losing that $20,000 to tax. And, if he'd spent it, another $1,900 gone to a bracket he didn't have to touch. The guardrail came down, and David drove straight into the first two hazards behind it. Not because he was careless, because no one told him the cliff was still there. Now here's the part most retirement videos won't tell you. Suppose you do everything in this video perfectly. You move your money with a direct transfer. You spread your withdrawals across years to respect the brackets. You're driving that open road like a pro. There's still one hazard that doesn't show up until 2 years down the line: your Medicare premiums. It's called IRMAA, and Walter's doing a full breakdown on it next. But you need to know it exists before you make a single big withdrawal. Here's the mechanic that catches people. The income on your tax return doesn't just set this year's tax bill. Medicare looks back 2 years to decide what you pay for Part B and Part D. So the income you generate at 63, a big withdrawal, a large Roth conversion, the sale of a property, is what sets your Medicare premium at 65. For a married couple, the first surcharge tier currently kicks in a little above $212,000 of income, and once you cross it, your premiums step up for the whole year. If you're between 61 and 63 right now, read that again. The withdrawal you're thinking about making this year is quietly writing your Medicare bill for the year you turn 65, and it doesn't stop at 1 year. Cross the line and the surcharge rides with you for that whole year of premiums on both Part B and Part D for both spouses. A single oversized withdrawal can echo for 2 years and land on 2 people. That's not a reason to freeze. It's a reason to know where the line is before you cross it, which is exactly the kind of thing the guardrail used to handle for you and now doesn't. So here's the simple routine. Walter wants you to walk through the year you hit 59 and a half, maybe at the kitchen table, with a cup of coffee and your retirement statements in front of you. 1. Write down every traditional retirement account you have and its balance. Every 401k, every IRA, including old ones from jobs you left. You can't drive a road you haven't mapped. 2. Before you move a single dollar between accounts, say the words "direct trustee to trustee transfer" out loud and make the plan do exactly that. Never take a check for money you intend to keep invested. That one habit closes the $20,000 trap permanently. 3. Before you take money you actually plan to spend, look up where the 12% bracket ends for your filing status this year. For a married couple in 2026, that's $100,800 of taxable income. And write that number down. 4. Figure out what you genuinely need this year, and whether splitting a large withdrawal across 2 calendar years keeps you under that line. Usually, it does. Usually, that's free money. 5. If you're having a low-income year, in your early 60s, ask the question almost nobody asks. Should I convert some traditional money to Roth while I'm sitting in the 12% bracket? This is the opportunity hiding inside the hazard. 6. Check your income against the Medicare line, a little above $212,000 for a couple, and remember the 2-year look back before any big withdrawal or conversion near age 63. 7. And this is the one to remember if you forget all the others. At 59 and a half, the penalty that protected you for 30 years is gone, which means you are now the guardrail. Every withdrawal is your decision and your consequence. Nobody's stopping you anymore. That's the freedom, and that's the responsibility, and they're the same thing. Yes, it sounds like a lot, but you do it once, deliberately, and the rest becomes a rhythm. And look, none of this is really about $20,000. It's about who's driving. For 30 years, the rules drove for you. At 59 and a half, you take the wheel. The whole point of learning where the cliffs are is so you get to enjoy the open road instead of being afraid of it. So the money you worked for actually shows up in the years you're healthy enough to use it. That's not optimization. That's agency. If this helped, do 3 things for Walter. Hit that like button so more people in your age range see it. Subscribe to Walter Explains Retirement so you don't miss the next one. We're going deep on IRMAA and the Medicare trap that reaches 2 years into your past. And after today, you know why that matters. And in the comments, type the word guardrail if you want Walter to break down how to access retirement money before 59 and a half without the penalty. There's a legal way, and most people have never heard of it. I'm Walter. Your money is important, but your time and your health are priceless. Use the rules to your advantage, not theirs. I'll see you in the next.